Hi there, it's Megan here. Today I wanted to do a animal study. So I went through and got out my sketchbook and got my good cup of tea and started a study today. So before I begin, I wanted to swatch my tea and just kind of make sure I recorded what I drank today. Don't worry about that paintbrush. I washed it off nice and well afterwards, so it's not all gunked up and sugary, so I didn't have any added sweeteners to the tea. So I think it was a blueberry muffin with a white tea mixed together. Anyways, you can see there on the screen what it is that I made. So you'll see in a minute for my animal study, I sort of did a random animal generator, just because I couldn't really think of anything offhand that I wanted to do immediately. So I thought, you know what, we'll just do that. See there, my tea is that. I love tea. It's one of my favorite things. So, yeah, using a random animal generator, I think I chose 3. You'll see here, I'm just gonna hit random. Yeah. So we had a basilisk, a chipmunk, and an oryx. The basilisk was kind of cool, but not really what I'm comfortable drawing. So I thought I'd go with the oryx because the oryx is kind of neat. So I do here the Oryx Study, yeah. So you'll see I'll be sketching in Ballpoint Pen. The reason for this is I never used to. I used to only sketch really in pencil or colored pencil, things like that. But I found after watching some other YouTube artists that sketch in Ballpoint Pen, it just makes sense. I mean, I'm able to get that nice sketchy line work done like I like, because the ballpoint pen does have I don't know how to describe it, but it kind of mimics like a pencil does, where you have like different thicknesses and different weights and different darkness when you sketch with it, and I did really like that. I never thought of doing that before, but after watching these other YouTubers doing it, it was really good. And also it doesn't really smudge, so once you can close your book, you can keep your book forever, and when you go back to look at the sketchbook, it's not all friggin' graphite and stuff smudged everywhere. So I started on my first oryx. I just sort of picked a simple pose just to kind of get an idea of how their bodies worked. So I based it off of what I was comfortable drawing with deer, because I do like drawing deer. But you can see here they have this sort of big humped shoulder and more of a horse-like head almost. It's a little less dainty than a deer's, so I wanted to make sure I convey that. I was trying to get those markings down. Make sure I got the leg positioning right, the body width. So this first one, obviously just a very simple pose to kind of get used to the anatomy, which is always a good idea to start with if you're going to be sketching. Even if you're not going to be doing something hyper realistic, just doing some studies is nice, because you kind of get a little bit of a better idea of how their proportions work, and where their body moves and where parts of them sit, so that when you try to stylize it, it still conveys what the animal is underneath that. So see here, I've got those great big horns. I was a little sad when I started drawing the horns, because I like big curly horns, and like where they have the curves and curls, or there's a breed of gazelle or species of gazelle. Anyways, they have like this wiggly horn that goes all the way up. That's kind of cool. I was trying to do that. And see here, I do like to write little notes up to myself on my sketches. Not so much for later, just like things I thought were funny while I was drawing. So like that thick neck. And you can see here, I'm trying to get this body width right, because he's got the stomach kind of bows down, hangs below it, instead of coming up into the waist like some other animals do. They're a little bit more chunky monkeys. So this was the pose I liked the best, and actually you'll see probably in the preview image for this and in the end, this is the pose I went with. So I really wanted to sketch this one out. I liked the running motion. It kind of conveys how much they sort of lope instead of sprint, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't look like a type of gazelle, where they're like a springbok or something like that, where they're going quick, and like little agile animals, they're sort of a little bit chunkier, they're a little bit slower, but they're more powerful as a result of it. So I was trying to get this neck too, and you can see here I put the head up too high because the necks are sort of less sloped and a little more straight, but I do try to fix that a little bit, but I kind of liked adjusting the pose just a little bit, because it kind of I don't know, conveyed motion a little better to me. I'll say that's why, not just because I'm lazy and I didn't want to put the work in to fix it to right. I usually start with drawing the head first, but where this was the pose in motion, I really wanted to draw the body. You can see here I'm trying to figure out how to get that face and body to look like it's in motion going in one direction and like has that nice line, but excuse me, but it doesn't always work out. So the ears and the horns are a little bit boring in this pose, which made me kind of second guess it when I was drawing it. I thought maybe I'd want to do something else instead, but you'll see in the end I do go with this one because it is my favorite. So yeah, I was looking for other poses, trying to find other running poses. I did like this one, but it's basically just the inverse of the one I had just drawn, so I wasn't super excited about that. I think I ended up doing it anyways though, because I couldn't find any other kind of motion poses. So I was trying to get this like squashed body look, because instead of being out and lengthened, the legs have come up underneath and it's sort of smooshed down a little bit. I don't think it turned out as well though. I think I was pretty grumpy with that one. And then yeah, usually I draw the head first, but when I do like movement poses, the head's really the least complicated part of the entire drawing, so I was sort of going for the body first. And see, like if I was doing pencil and I did that, I would just smear that fucking pencil. And yeah, here I just wanted to do the face because I wanted to get a better idea of these markings. And here you can see sort of a lot of ungulates, which are split-hoofed and even not split-hoofed animals like deer, horses, sheep, all that jazz. They sort of have this block, like their head kind of comes in two pieces, or sort of a block square almost piece, and then the longer rounded triangular piece that's like where the muzzle is. So I was trying to get that in there right. And I found I kind of over exaggerated the difference between the brow ridge and the nose, but again, I was mostly worried about the markings. I kind of wanted to get more comfortable with that and just sort of get an idea, a little face study to kind of go from. I actually really liked it though at the end, and like doing the little bit of shading with ballpoint pen is really fun, so it's kind of a fun little exercise. And so then finally I was like, you know what, I should just freehand one and draw it kind of stupid, and it turned out terrible, so I wrote no on it. But here I chose this one to finish with, so I did a little coloring in just with a Copic to make it kind of stand out on the page for when I looked back at it later. And once I'm all done with that, I'm going to be transcribing it. So I was trying to find that pose again, because I was like, oh crap, where the markings sit on this thing. But yeah, this is a really fun way. If you have art supplies that you've gotten that you didn't really love, although I'm not saying Copics are a supply I didn't love. I actually like my Copics. They're very nice. But like if you had tried out some cheap markers or bought some colored pencils that you weren't super keen on, this is a great way to use them up. Just throwing on some random colors on your sketches just for, you know, to funsies, make them stand out, because they don't have to be perfect. They just have to sort of be there, you know? It's just there to add a little pop, make it a little more exciting. So that's why I was like, I'll go around with my little Copic. I should have used I have some other markers that I don't like as much, but I think I was just really excited about this guy, so I wanted to do this first. And then yeah, I just wanted to make him stand out on the page as well, instead of just the colors on him, because he did stand a little bit, but you know, at first glance, the downside to those ballpoint pens is the lines aren't super heavy unless you like really go over them. So I didn't want to have to go over and over again just to make him stand out. So I did this to kind of pop him up. So yeah, there's my Oryx. That's the one I'm going to do. So if you'll give me a second, I'm going to be moving everything around. I also found out while I was recording and doing all these things. So here I'll pause and everything's fine. And I'm going to be transferring it over to this little watercolor sketchbook I have that I got from a Sketchbox. I kept finding out that I have to use my phone camera because I don't have the money to invest in a very nice camera just yet. But I found out that I had limited storage space and it kept stopping its recordings, so that was not great. So you missed this entire sketch because it cut out and then I had to start again. And thankfully I hated it, so I completely started again. So you get to start from there. I was having a lot of trouble with the proportioning. The head wasn't sitting right. It was way too big. I always draw heads way too big. And I was trying to get a little more a little more true to the source. Because even when I try to do fairly realistic, I oversimplify a lot of details because I'm very stylized. I like, well, I don't know if I like, but I'm used to oversimplifying. So here I am trying to get that body shape. Again, with a lot of deer and horses and things like that, people, sometimes when you're drawing them, they'll draw the back a little more sloped. And horses do have a slope in the back, comes after the shoulder, and then up to the rump. But whatever. But it's not as pronounced as some people like to draw it. And then the issue too is like things like deer and this guy here, the Oryx. They don't really have that slope, at least not nearly as pronounced. So it's almost pretty much a straight line all the way back, unless they're in movement and like the shoulders are popping up or things like that. So that was one of those things that like epiphany moments forever ago. I was drawing deer and I was like, why do these deer all look so weird? And I realized what it was I was putting that slope in, and I didn't need to put the slope in to begin with. And if I was going to put the slope in, it needed to be much, much, much shallower slope. So that was sort of a thing. So now whenever I try to draw, I just do the straight line first, and then I sort of like adjust it as I need to, so I don't fall into that old habit of doing the riding saddle slope thing. And same with their bellies, horses, all of them included. A lot of mammal, or like dogs, cats, and humans even, our waists come up really tight before our hip bone. Like I have a greyhound, it's very pronounced on him, where he has a barrel chest, tight stomach and waist, and then his hips come out. But with horses and multi-chambered stomach animals, like cows, horses, sheep, all that jazz, they have more of like a little pot belly that kind of hangs down. And then there's the hip bone kind of connects in front of that. So that's another thing kind of to keep an eye out for when you're drawing animals like this. And I think it's just the chambered stomach thing that causes that to happen. But yeah, so I think that looks pretty good. I think I'm doing all right. This is where I say I'm sorry, because I thought I was recording. I wasn't. Fuck. I must have. Sorry. Okay. Well, what I did do is I worked from this right here, and I got my little reference here so I could see how I liked the movement on that. I'm not super in love with the head. It's a little too big, but I'm having trouble shortening it without losing this long face thing. So I'm sorry. But I will be recording while I ink and move on to painting, but we'll see. I've also accidentally shortened this body here, so I might sit and rework this body a little longer, and that might make that head a little less janky looking. So at least there's that. You get to see me resketch this body and lengthen it out, because here he's got this muscle here and that big chunk of bone for the big shoulder. I just got my own shoulder, you can't see. The big shoulder piece is not quite as wide as I drew it. Like, it should be up in here, but this still needs to be a little longer. So I'm going to stretch this out and bring in the shoulder, and you get to see that sketch. And again, very sorry, I have a dumb. Yeah, so that's when I first realized that like the recording wasn't happening consistently and not just randomly. I thought it was like I hit the button wrong, or like, oh okay, I it overheated. No, you don't have space, dum-dum. Like, so I have that sorted now. I have an external little SD card that it's gonna save videos to, so it takes a little longer. And then hopefully eventually I can invest some money in a proper camera designed to record for more than a few minutes at a time. I was going to use my photography camera. It literally will only let me record for 8 minutes, so that was no go. So yeah, see here I've extended the body out. And it's doing pretty good. I'm trying to sort out this leg again and draw it right. I don't want to hyperextend the leg, and I also don't want to bring in that bend too much, because then that kind of uh, ruins the motion of it. Like, it doesn't look like it's in the right place to be moving if you don't put it in the right area. So here you see I adjusted it again after the fact, and I kind of put it down a little bit straighter so it was actually connecting with ground underneath it. And here I was just kind of going over really quickly with my little gummy eraser. I just wanted to lighten up the lines but not completely get rid of them, so that when I inked over them and I had to go back and clean them up again, it'd be a lot easier than trying to get through a bunch of dark lines and all the little light lines. So the first thing I used for inking, you'll see here, is a brown Copic. It's like a Sienna Copic liner that I got in a kit, a set of a bunch from, again, Sketchbox. A lot of my supplies are from Sketchbox, and I plan on doing some Sketchbox review videos, so you'll see that. But I thought I would do basically the majority of the body, anything that was in the foreground, with these brown Copic liners, because I thought that might be a little less harsh than doing it all in black, like I would normally do. And then I thought, you know, if I could do this and have the watercolors, which I'm not very familiar with, but have the watercolors, you know, a nice color, they'll come back in. And so here I used a micron, just a regular micron fine liner, I think a 3 probably. I can't tell while I'm watching it back right now. Just to do the eye, those back legs, since they were going to be in a darker shade, and sort of just finish up with those little details. And then I needed to just go back in, erase all my lines before I started watercoloring. So I don't believe I used any more supplies. No, I just kind of made a point to put them down. So yeah, here's my eraser. Those are the best erasers. They're the greatest. Mine's a Faber-Castell one. They're so fucking good. I'm never getting monetized. I need to stop swearing. And then I use this really, really cool, fancy, I'm bad at holding things. Yeah, really just like $2 for a pack of 10 mechanical pencil. I don't know, I'm not super sophisticated when it comes to pencils. I brought out 2 sets of watercolors. I had these koi ones, the traveling kit that I'd seen a few different artists use that they seemed to like. And I had also pulled out, I had sort of a sample sheet of watercolors. I think it's Daniel Smith was the brand. In any case, I had those out, but I didn't use them, so don't worry about those. That's just what you see on that piece of paper up in the corner. Again, one of my sketch boxes sent me those, and that was sort of where I started playing a little bit with watercolors, but wasn't super comfortable. So I tried my best. I'm not crazy used to watercolors, so it was a bit of a hard. So I did it very simple for this, because I'm not super comfortable with them, and I didn't want to overdo it and then completely ruin it. So I tried doing some grading here, so like that chin stripe that comes up the side of the face kind of goes from a darker gray up into the dun brown of the body. So I thought if I could kind of blend those, that would look nice. And I was trying to kind of work in like small details a little bit here and there, and then kind of get my butt going. So again, I'm not very used to watercolors. These did really well though. I found the paper, I didn't have them dry too fast, so I think I was able to get my flat like base color down without too much trouble. But again, I'm not super comfortable with them, so I couldn't give you any tips on how to keep from messing that up. If you want a lot of tips for watercolors, you can go to people like Casey Golden. She has a handful of like she has one beginner video, and then she does a lot of talking about her watercolors while she's painting. So I mean, it may not be direct tutorials, but you can kind of see little tidbits of information, you know, like things she tried that did work or didn't work. And then Danica, shoot, what's her last name? There's another artist that I follow on YouTube that does a lot of watercolors, and she actually did do a watercolor education series thing. Her first name is Danica. What is her last name? Sills. Danica Sills. Okay. It might be Danica, but I don't know. I keep saying Danica. Anyway, she does a lot of watercolors, and she has a really neat art style, and her watercolors are beautiful. She has very good tutorials on things like flat washes, ways to layer up flat washes to get these different colors. It's very hard to describe that if you haven't seen it before, but if you see her stuff, you can definitely see what she's talking about when she references that like the layering of colors in watercolor and how it creates this really cool effect. I don't know very much about watercolors and I'm still only learning, so I haven't really tried that. But who knows, maybe if I keep doing my animal studies in watercolors and getting practice with that, that might be something eventually I can do pretty comfortably. Who knows? So yeah, these back legs I sort of did in this grayish brown, thinking that would be dark enough, and I think I go back over it later because I didn't love it. Like it wasn't. I didn't like with the black lines. It didn't look as differentiated. It sort of made the black lines really, really stand out, and the shade of the color didn't blend well with that black line. So I do go back and I darken it up afterwards. But here I wanted to add that black into the brown so that I could go through and do some more markings on the guy, and I think I add a little more black now to go back through that shadow. Also, if I'm mixing my colors wrong, let me know because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Yeah, so I did this darker black-brown to do all the markings, which was a little nerve-wracking because I was worried I was going to just completely screw them up and then have this weird, stupid-looking Oryx that didn't have the right markings on its face. But they worked out alright. I think I also go back and darken those up a little bit too afterwards because they're just a little bit pale. But I was working lighter to darker, less intentionally and more just out of fear of messing it up and knowing that if it was lighter it'd be easier to cover back up again. I really did like the Oryx though. It was a really interesting animal. It's got really nice proportions. It's got cool markings on its face. The horns are kind of boring, but like whatever. You know, not everybody has to have cool horns. We can't all be goats. But yeah, I liked this, just having something other than just like a flat body, single body color to kind of work with it, being able to go, okay, well now he's got this color, and I'm going to try and fade that tail, because the tail is sort of that color into the rump. I think I did okay at that, but it's still sort of a differentiated line almost. But if I'd been thinking, I would have done that while that brown was still a little wet so that it would have actually kind of bled in together. So doing the markings on the legs here, I like the big like dark chunks on their legs. They're very interesting patterns on these animals, and I think if I could, I would totally pet one and call it my friend. So I'm just going to be quiet for a little while and let you continue to watch me paint because I don't have a whole lot to talk about. I'll pipe in if I have something interesting to say. So after I got finished with the Oryx, I thought it'd be really nice to put in a like a geometric shape. So I just wanted to take this India ink, or Liquitex ink, sorry, in bronze. And at first I had tried mixing it with another color, just like some greens or something, because I was trying to kind of make it a little less, have a little more depth. Eventually I just said screw that and I just went straight with the bronze. But yeah, you see there, I started to record it and the camera cut out again, so I had to restart. So that's why the stuff I had already put down sort of dried up a bit, because I had realized that what was wrong with my phone was that I was running out of space, so I went and cleared up some space so I could record the last chunk of video. So yeah, I went in, this stuff's a little more opaque, but not super opaque, so I kind of just did a geometric triangle, something simple. And then I was going to fill in around the Oryx with this bronze. I thought this would be something to make it kind of stand out without having to do a full scene or anything like that behind it, and without it just being this lonely Oryx just running in the middle of a page. So So yeah, I went over it kind of once with this. It will cut out before I'm done, but I went over it once with this, and then I go back in again just with straight bronze, because like I said, the mixed color wasn't really even coming through, so there was no point. So here we go, it's all finished. I've got that bronze wash on it, and as you can see, we're all done. So there's my ink, there's my little triangle, there's my little Oryx. I think I did a pretty good job. I could have done better, but I think it was a good job for what I had. So thanks for joining me, and hope to see you next time. So, oh frig. Yeah, I'm still talking. I don't know why I'm still talking. Stop talking, Megan. Bye!